You throw away 200 pounds of kitchen scraps every year. That's 200 pounds of potential fertilizer going to the landfill, while you spend $100+ buying fertility in bags. Asian farmers turn that same waste into liquid gold within 2 weeks. Here's how they do it. Bokashi. Japanese bokashi ferments all kitchen waste in 2 weeks using beneficial microorganisms. Unlike composting that takes months and can't handle meat or dairy, Bokashi processes everything. Layer scraps in a sealed bucket with Bokashi bran containing effective microorganisms. Press down to remove air. Drain liquid weekly through the bucket spigot. That liquid diluted 1:100 feed plants immediately. After 2 weeks, bury the fermented solids in garden soil where they transform into rich compost within another 2 weeks. Fermented plant juice. Korean farmers make free liquid fertilizer from weeds and vegetable scraps. Chop fresh plant material into small pieces. Mix equal parts by weight with brown sugar. The sugar pulls moisture and nutrients from the plant cells through osmosis. Pack the mixture in a jar, leaving 2 inches of headspace. Cover with cloth secured by a rubber band. Fermentation completes in 7 to 10 days when bubbling stops and liquid turns brown. Strain out solids and store liquid in glass bottles. Dilute 1 part juice to 500 parts water for foliar spray or soil drench. The fermented growth hormones stimulate vigorous vegetative growth. Fish amino acids. Fish scraps from your kitchen or local fish market become concentrated protein fertilizer through fermentation. Mix equal parts fish waste and brown sugar by weight. The sugar prevents rotting by creating conditions where beneficial bacteria outcompete putrefying bacteria. Pack in a jar and cover with cloth. Fermentation takes 3 to 6 months. The fish completely liquefies into a brown amino acid solution. The smell is strong but not rotten. Strain and bottle. Dilute 1 to 1,000 for application. This provides nitrogen and amino acids that boost flowering and fruiting. Commercial fish emulsion costs $12 to $20 per quart. You make it free from scraps that would otherwise go to garbage. Enzyme garbage liquid. Southeast Asian farmers ferment fruit and vegetable peels for 3 months to create multi-purpose enzyme liquid. Mix 3 parts fresh scraps to 1 part brown sugar to 10 parts water by weight. Chop scraps into small pieces for faster fermentation. Use non-chlorinated water or let tap water sit overnight to off-gas chlorine. Combine everything in a large jar or bucket. Cover with cloth to allow gas escape while preventing pests. Stir daily for the first week, then weekly after. Natural enzymes from fruit skins break down the material. After 3 months, strain and bottle. The liquid works as fertilizer diluted 1 to 500, as cleaning agent at full strength, or as compost accelerator. The fruity sour smell is pleasant compared to chemical cleaners. 1 batch from scraps you'd throw away serves multiple purposes for months. Rice water fermentation. Rice wash water contains starches and nutrients that feed beneficial soil microbes. Instead of pouring it down the drain, collect it in a jar. Let it sit at room temperature for 3 to 5 days until it smells sour and develops cloudy sediment. This indicates lactobacillus bacteria have multiplied. These are the same probiotics in yogurt and kimchi. Dilute the fermented rice water 1 part to 10 parts plain water. Use as a soil drench around plant bases. The lactobacillus colonize the soil and suppress disease-causing organisms while breaking down organic matter into plant-available nutrients. This is the foundation of microorganism culture used in Korean natural farming. From it, you can culture your own Bokashi-style inoculant by mixing fermented rice water with bran or rice hulls. Let it dry and you have homemade Bokashi bran that costs pennies instead of the $15 to $20 for commercial products. The white powdery growth that develops is beneficial yeast and bacteria, not mold. Eggshell vinegar calcium. Blossom end rot on tomatoes and peppers signals calcium deficiency. Store-bought calcium supplements cost $8 to $15. Make it free from eggshells you'd otherwise discard. Rinse eggshells and let them dry for a few days. Crush them into small pieces. Place crushed shells in a jar and cover with white vinegar. The acetic acid in vinegar dissolves calcium carbonate from shells into calcium acetate that plants absorb immediately. You'll see vigorous bubbling as the reaction proceeds. Let it sit for 2 weeks, shaking occasionally. The bubbling stops when dissolution is complete. Strain out any remaining shell fragments. Dilute the calcium-rich vinegar 1 part to 1,000 parts water. Apply as foliar spray or soil drench weekly during fruit development. The calcium prevents blossom end rot and strengthens cell walls, making plants more disease-resistant. Each eggshell provides enough calcium for several gallons of diluted spray. 12 eggs per week gives you unlimited calcium fertilizer. The vinegar smell dissipates quickly after application. Banana peel potassium extract. Potassium drives flowering and fruiting. Banana peels contain high potassium that extracts easily into water. Chop peels from 2 to 3 bananas. Place in a quart jar and fill with water. Let sit for 3 days at room temperature. The water turns brown as potassium, and other minerals leach out. Strain and use directly without dilution as soil drench. For tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and flowering plants, the plants respond with increased bud formation and larger fruits. For longer-term extraction, ferment peels with brown sugar like fermented plant juice. Mix equal weights of chopped peels and sugar. Ferment for 2 weeks. The resulting liquid is concentrated potassium that you dilute 1 to 500. Fresh extraction works for immediate needs. Fermented extraction stores for months in sealed bottles. Either way, you're capturing nutrients from peels that most people compost or trash. The potassium content in 1 banana peel equals a tablespoon of commercial potassium fertilizer that costs 50 cents. 4 peels per week over a growing season equals $20 of free fertility. Why fermentation beats? Composting. Traditional composting takes 3 to 6 months of turning and managing carbon to nitrogen ratios. Fermentation completes in 2 weeks to 3 months, depending on method with minimal management. Composting requires oxygen, so you turn the pile regularly. Fermentation happens without oxygen in sealed containers requiring no turning. Composting loses 30 to 50% of nitrogen to the atmosphere as ammonia gas. Fermentation retains over 90% of nutrients in the sealed system. Composting requires specific ingredients to avoid attracting pests. You can't compost meat, dairy, oils, or cooked foods without creating rat problems. Fermentation handles all those materials in sealed buckets that pests cannot access. Composting produces finished compost you dig into soil. Fermentation produces both solid pre-compost and liquid fertilizer you use immediately. The liquid from Bokashi buckets or fermented plant juice feeds plants within hours of application. You get 2 products instead of 1 from the same starting waste. Fermentation works in any climate year-round. Composting slows or stops in winter cold and requires space for outdoor bins. Fermentation happens in 5-gallon buckets under your sink through January. The microbial diversity in fermented products exceeds composting. Lactobacillus, yeast, and photosynthetic bacteria colonize ferments. These beneficial organisms transfer to your soil, improving overall soil biology beyond what compost provides. Setting up your fermentation system. Start with Bokashi because it handles all kitchen waste daily. Buy or build 2 5-gallon buckets with tight-fitting lids and spigots near the bottom for draining liquid. 1 bucket ferments while the other fills. Order Bokashi brand online for $15 to $20. The bag lasts 6 months, treating daily scraps. Each day, add kitchen waste to the active bucket. Sprinkle a handful of Bokashi brand over the new scraps. Press everything down firmly with a potato masher or plate to remove air pockets. Seal the lid. Every 2 to 3 days, drain the liquid that accumulates by opening the spigot. This Bokashi tea is concentrated fertilizer. Dilute 1 part tea to 100 parts water, and apply immediately to plants or pour down drains to prevent clogs with beneficial microbes. When the first bucket fills after about 2 weeks, seal it and start filling the second bucket. Let the sealed bucket ferment for 2 more weeks undisturbed. After that 2-week fermentation, the contents are ready to bury in your garden or add to outdoor compost where they break down into finished compost within 2 weeks. The cycle continues. For liquid ferments like fermented plant juice or fish amino acids, save glass jars from pickles, sauces, or store them in half-gallon mason jars. You need jars with wide mouths for easy filling and removing solids. Cloth covers secured with rubber bands allow fermentation gases to escape while keeping pests out. Label jars with contents and start date using masking tape and permanent marker. Brown sugar is your main purchased ingredient. Buy in bulk at restaurant supply stores or big box retailers. Yet a 25 pounds costs $15 to $25 and lasts a year for all fermentation projects. Application schedule and garden integration. Different ferments serve different purposes at different growth stages. Match the fertilizer to what your plants need when they need it. Early season vegetative growth requires nitrogen. Apply fermented plant juice, diluted 1 to 500 every 7 to 10 days on young transplants and seedlings. The growth hormones and nitrogen boost leaf and stem development. Spray it on leaves in early morning so plants absorb it before heat of the day. Mid-season flowering requires phosphorus and potassium. Switch to fish amino acids diluted 1 to 1,000 when plants begin setting flowers. The protein provides amino acids that build flower structures. Combine with banana peel extract for extra potassium that supports fruit development. Apply weekly as soil drench around plant bases. Late-season fruiting requires calcium and continued potassium. Use eggshell vinegar diluted 1 to 1,000 as a weekly foliar spray to prevent blossom end rot on tomatoes, peppers, and squash. Continue banana peel extract to support fruit sizing. Year-round soil building comes from burying Bokashi every 2 weeks in different garden areas. The fermented material feeds soil organisms that create humus and improve structure. Rotate burial spots so every area receives treatment over the season. Between seasons, Bokashi trenches and empty beds build fertility for next year's crops. Rice water fermentation applies weekly throughout the growing season as a probiotic soil drench. The beneficial bacteria suppress diseases and accelerate nutrient cycling. 1 gallon of diluted rice water treats 20 to 30 square feet. The application schedule sounds complex but simplifies with routine. Monday morning becomes fermented plant juice spray day. Thursday evening becomes fish amino acid drench day. Saturday becomes Bokashi burial day. The routine takes 30 minutes weekly total once you establish the rhythm. Troubleshooting and smell management. Good fermentation smells sweet-sour like pickles or fruity like wine. Bad fermentation smells rotten like garbage or sulfurous like rotten eggs. The difference is anaerobic versus aerobic conditions. Proper fermentation happens without oxygen. Bad smells indicate oxygen got into the system and rotting bacteria took over instead of fermenting bacteria. If Bokashi smells rotten instead of pickled, you didn't press down scraps enough to remove air pockets or the lid isn't sealing properly. Fix it by adding more Bokashi bran to reintroduce beneficial microorganisms and pressing everything down firmly. If liquid ferment smells sulfurous, too much airspace existed in the jar or the cloth cover allowed fruit flies to enter. Strain out the solids, add more brown sugar to the liquid, and re-ferment in a sealed container. Prevention beats correction. Always press solids down below liquid level in ferments. Always remove as much air as possible from Bokashi buckets. Always use enough brown sugar. The sugar creates osmotic pressure that prevents rotting while feeding beneficial organisms. White fuzzy growth on fermenting materials is good. That's beneficial yeast similar to what you see on natural wine fermentation. Blue, green, or black mold indicates contamination from too much air exposure. Scrape off mold, add brown sugar, and improve sealing. Temperature affects fermentation speed. 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit is optimal. Below 60 degrees, fermentation slows significantly. Above 90 degrees, beneficial organisms may die. In cold winters, keep fermentation buckets in heated spaces. In hot summers, keep them in cooler basements or garages. Fruit flies are attracted to fermenting materials. Cloth covers prevent entry while allowing gases to escape. Secure cloth tightly with rubber bands. If flies get in, strain the material, dispose of contaminated portions, and restart with better covering. Your first month week 1, set up 1 Bokashi bucket and order bran. Start collecting all kitchen scraps in the bucket with bran layers. Order brown sugar in bulk. Save glass jars from your regular shopping. Week 2, start your first fermented plant juice batch using vegetable scraps and weeds from your garden. Mix equal weights with brown sugar in a jar. Begin collecting rice wash water in a separate jar for fermentation. Week 3, drain your first Bokashi tea and apply it diluted to plants. Start eggshell vinegar by placing dried crushed shells in vinegar. Notice the vigorous bubbling as calcium dissolves. Week 4, strain your fermented plant juice and apply it diluted as foliar spray. Your rice water has fermented and smells sour. Dilute and use as soil drench. By month end, you have 4 different fertilizer systems running simultaneously from waste that previously went to garbage. The investment was $50 to $75 for buckets, bran, and sugar. You've eliminated at least one trip to the garden center for fertilizer. Over the season, you'll eliminate all fertilizer purchases while improving results, because fermented inputs build soil biology in ways synthetic fertilizers destroy. Start this week with one method. Add another next week. By next month, you're running a complete fermentation system that transforms waste into fertility.